I'm happy to be taking on this topic, article writing in text space. And that's because article writing is something that I've been doing for a while now, and it's something that I really enjoy as a person. So before we go deep into it, I want everyone every participant to let me know what they want to get out of this training session. That's one. And then what their experience in the tech space generally, if they are enthusiasts or if you're someone that already plays some sort of role in the tech space. So just basically let me know who you are and what you hope to learn from this training, and then how familiar you are with the tech space. So we can go ahead. So we can unmute our mics to speak, or raise your hands, or maybe drop in the chat box if you are more comfortable with that. Do we have any takers?
Okay, we have someone send a message in the chat box.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can you read it out?
Yeah,
For some
sure.
reason, I can't see it.
That's Chukwuka. Said, I can't speak right now, but I'm very familiar with the tech space and some basics. Writing interests me.
Okay. Is that all we have?
Yes, for now, that's all we have. Okay, it said, I have written some things, but I haven't posted anything on Medium or maybe WordPress.
Okay, so you've not told us what you hope to get out of this training.
Okay, we have Favor. It said, I have interest in writing generally, so learning the weight of tech writing would be a big plus.
Okay. That's well noted. All right, as we wait for other responses to pour in, just to give a brief background of myself, my name is Tolu Alashe, and I had my first degree from the University of Lagos, where I studied law. So typically, writing law exams entails a lot of writing. So I've sort of been honing my writing skills since my undergraduate days and delved a bit into some sort of article, blog writing posts, even while transitioning into the career phase of my life. So currently I work with PwC as a senior associate, and some of the tasks that I take on at work actually includes researching and writing for different clients, across different sectors. So it's something that I do on a pretty regular basis, and I've been able to garner one or two tips, or should I say tricks, around how to make writing more efficient, and for people that find it boring, maybe more fun and even straight to the point. So talking about article writing in the tech space, we're not talking about writing generally, but in the tech industry. So we understand that the tech industry is pretty broad. And if we are even being honest, you can almost take any concept and merge it with technology, and then you pretty much enter into the technology space. Let me give an example. When you have financial institutions, you have traditional financial institutions, the moment you add some bit of technology around it and you have the likes of Piggyverse, Paystacks, Flutterwave, then you have fintech companies. And when you have a traditional food delivery service and you add technology into it, like Jumia Food, you're already delving into the tech space. So what I want you to understand here is, don't get carried away by tech, as in tech, being, oh, I want to know how to write in the tech space. The truth is, if you are very good at writing generally, there's a high chance that you would know how to write in the tech space. So the most important thing is actually understanding what you are writing about, which requires either research or experience or a combination of both. So you write something very bad if you don't spend your time doing enough research for a subject you do not know about, or if it's not something that you have decent experience in. So this is going to now take me to the next slide. And this is something I want everybody on this call to actually take home. So this is just a training to sort of jumpstart or refuel whatever writing traits you have going on. The most important thing you have to do is write as regularly as possible. You can't just learn how to write by attending a training or a conference. If you don't write and make the mistakes you're supposed to make and learn from it, you are honestly not going to be a good writer, and you will not be a good tech writer because you will not be efficient in that space. So if you want to go into writing about maybe tech products, reviewing technology, or just talking about some concepts in the tech industry, you need to understand what you are talking about, because technology is technical. So you need to, if you don't understand it, it means you cannot convey it in simple words, right? And this leads me to the first one I have here. It says, be a lifelong learner. This goes back to the research. You need to get yourself exposed to various concepts, learn new things, watch movies that actually expose you to new perspectives, things that you never saw before. Otherwise, if you don't go through this exposure, you realize that you are only writing from one perspective, from the perspective which you understand, from the perspective of your background. Meanwhile, you have your audience as people coming from various backgrounds. So the better exposed you are, the better your writing is. So the next thing I have is be flexible. So like I said, you're not writing for yourself. Neither are you writing for one person. Even when you write a personal blog, you have to write in a way that your readers, your recipients, they can relate to what you are saying. So as a lawyer now, you will not just start writing, using myself as an example, in using technical jargon, when I have to bear in mind that the people reading my article are not even, they are not technical people, they are not lawyers, they are maybe people that have specialized in other fields. So why go technical? So another thing is be open. I alluded to that before when I said you should actually get some sort of exposure. And this also leads to the next point here. It says contribute to organization and open source communities. So when you have examples like maybe Quora or Nairaland, and people post questions or ideas and you're willing to share, maybe on Twitter. So when you're even sharing some thoughts, you are teaching people about something that you know, and you are able to get easy feedback. So if someone misconstrues what you've said and you're like, no, that's actually not what I meant. So you need to pay attention to the fact that, oh, you are writing in a way that is coming off not the way you intended it to come off as. Of course, it goes without saying to use proper tenses, use proper English, your grammar must be right, your spelling. Just use a basic spell checker and do that initial surface check. Then, of course, reread your material, review your materials, and all of that. Now, being patient. Writers are made, they are not born. You don't know how to write perfectly in one day. The truth is, the way I write today is not the same way I was writing December last year, because I've made more mistakes over time. I've learned from it. I've recalibrated, and now I'm actually better because my experiences they've taught me what to do and what not to do. So these are some of the things that we have to look out for. So another thing is be humble. So when people give you feedback, it's always a gift, like they always say, because like I said, you're not writing for yourself. So it's not enough for you to say, oh, my writing is perfect. If you were writing for yourself, then you say your writing is perfect, but you're writing for third parties. So you must always be willing to take on those feedback. And for these other things that are here about revisions, going over an article, editing, and all of that, I'm going to take us back to this Harvard Business Review approach of writing, because that pretty much encapsulates most of the concepts that we will be teaching here. So who on this call knows about the Mscj approach to writing? I've been speaking for a while, so I want to hear your voices. Or if you don't know about the Mscj approach, what techniques have you used that makes writing seamless? Because this is actually a technique that would help us practically write in a better structured and more efficient manner. So it's something I like to share, but I also want to get a sense of what we know about the Mscj approach, and if not the Mscj approach, what other techniques to writing have we adopted or have we come across? So I'm throwing this to the audience. So you can either unmute yourself and speak, or you can drop it in the chat box.
So while they do that, a few or a couple of them made a comment to the question you raised initially. Ayomide Lawal said, that is, what is it you intend to take away from this training? He said, I am a front-end web developer, upcoming full-stack developer, and WordPress designer. I'm just enthusiastic about anything tech and writing, and I'm willing to learn tech writing as an additional important sector of tech, right? Then Chukwuka, right, continued on his question trail. He said, what I hope to get out of this is basically more training and improve my style of writing, excuse me, to appeal to the tech-related readers, right? So, yeah, those are the additional comments that came in.
Okay, thanks for sharing that. So does anybody know about the Mscj approach to writing, or what other techniques do we know on writing? Do we have any comments on this?
Not yet, we don't.
Okay. So just before I go back to that, so I've taken note of some of the objectives that some of our participants hope to gain from this training. And so basically, almost everybody wants to improve their style of writing as it relates to tech sector and tech readers. So that's noted. I think I covered a bit of it in my training. So just before my introduction, just before I move forward, the Mscj approach was first highlighted on one of the Harvard Business Review articles, and it's an acronym that stands for Madman, which is the M, Architect, which is the A, Carpenter, which is the C, and then the Judge, which is the J. So what we need to understand is when you are writing, using technology as an example for your tech audience, you don't just pick up a paper and start writing. So writing is almost the last thing you do. There's research before writing, there's structuring before writing. You need to be able to put your thoughts together to ensure that you deliver on a stellar article. So you start with the madman. This is the stage where you just gather as much information and knowledge you have on that particular topic. So if I say I'm writing an article on maybe how the fintech space works. So my audience might not be fintech guys. You want to introduce them to, okay, what is fintech about and all of that. It's not just for you to open your WordPress document or your Word document or whatever notepad you're using to write, and you just start writing about fintech. The first stage to do is actually gather your materials, do some research. What keywords would you use for fintechs? What keywords would you use to research for information that you can get on fintech? So of course you can put fintech itself in the search engine. You can get academic materials if your audience are, if they're more academically inclined. So to get academic materials, once you put in your search, your keyword, all you just need to do is type either .pdf or .edu at the end of that. So you have fintech.pdf or fintech.edu on your search engine, whether it's Google or Bing that you are using. So this helps you get research materials. So there's a reading process. You read through these materials, you extract the information, and you start putting everything in one, maybe a page or a sheet that you've dedicated to your research. So that's the madman stage. You need to gather as much materials as you can get. Writing is not for lazy people. You need to be able to put in the work, because a 2-page article that is well written would definitely help your career or help you achieve the objective you want to achieve better than a 5-page article that you just did some rush work randomly and you just threw it out there. I mean, writing is an art. You need to be able to deliver it in a way that your audience actually appreciates it. So it requires good work. You need to remove, add, remove, and at the end of the day, deliver something concise, but something that you will be proud of. And you can't get to that stage if you've not invested in the foundation of your article, which is your research stage. So when you're done with that, that's the madman. You move to the A, the architect. This is when you start to organize. You start to design how you want your article to come. You want this to come first. You want this to be the introduction. You want this to be the middle, the body. You want this to be the conclusion. You want to add two or more issues. You want to consider different perspectives. You want to write as maybe from a debate style, saying that, oh, this tool is better than this tool, or you feel that, oh, these are the features of this tool. So you need to design how you want your article to write, to come off as to your audience. So once you're done with that, it's not a linear approach. It's not like you move from madman to architect and you go see and do like that. No, it's more of a cyclical approach. So you move back and forth between stages. So whilst you are arranging your architect stage, you can realize that, oh, I actually need information on this area of the topic that I never considered when I was structuring my write-up. So I'm going to go back to the madman, research more on it, and come back to it. So you need to always be flexible enough to move back and forth between the structure, the framework you're using to write. And the second one is your carpenter. And this is when, after you gathered your materials, you design how you want it to come up as, you now want to begin to put it together like a carpenter knocks wood together. So you say, okay, yes. More often than not, your architectural stage and your carpenter stage, they work side by side. Just the same way, after you've designed maybe a building, you then get your bricklayer, your carpenters to then begin to do the hard work. So this helps you bring everything you've done together from the madman stage to the architect stage and then to the carpenter stage. The final stage is the judge, which, well, every stage is actually important, but the judge is the last stage before it gets to your audience, more often than not. And this is the stage where you review your content. And I'll always say, be very ruthless with your review. Unfortunately, and I experience this on a fairly regular basis, when you've written an article and you've put in a lot of effort, you've done research, you find it difficult to cut off stuff. You become emotional about your article, but the truth is your reader is not, they don't know the work you've put into. You need to err more on the side of delivering a concise article that is straight to the point and your reader would enjoy and glean as much from, as opposed to, I've done a lot of work, well, let me just give my reader everything. No, you might end up shooting yourself in the foot. So be very ruthless. If you need a third party to look at it during the judge stage and says, oh, and this person tells you, I don't see the purpose that this paragraph says, why not take it out? You should be willing to do that. For me, because more often than not, when I write an article and I have maybe someone way ahead of me that is reviewing the article, once the person says, take out this paragraph or rephrase, it's something that I have to do. So it's beyond me. I'm not just writing for myself, but I have to ruthlessly edit because I have a third party looking out for the audience apart from me. When I write personal articles, I struggle more with my editing phase because I'm the final reviewer of that article. So I understand how it feels to ruthlessly edit, but trust me, ruthless editing can be the difference between an average article and a great article. It's better to give them something that they can remember and it's worth their time than just waste their time and lose your great research in the midst of so many other content that is not necessary. So when you use this, writing becomes faster. Number two, it becomes more enjoyable. Number three, that thing you call writer's block, you are able to overcome it because you know what you are doing and when you are doing it. You're not just wasting time dilly-dallying left and right. How do I start? How do I start? Start from research, then move to designing what you want to design, then bring it together, then review. Stop, go over it again, go over it over and over. And before you know, once you understand your industry, which in this case is tech, you start putting content like this out there more often. You are beginning to appear as a thought leader and people feel, oh, this person is actually up to speed when it comes to anything tech or the specific sector of tech. Is it fintech? Is it regulatory tech? Is it whatever tech area that we are looking at? So that's very important. And some other key points I want us to note is keep things brief, conversational style. It's better when your reader feels like you are talking to them. But of course, this matters on the kind of writing. If you're writing your project or you're writing for a formal academic paper, you might not adapt that style. But generally speaking, there's too much content in the world already, like too much information. But when you put your word in a conversational style, it becomes easier for your audience to read. And use yourself as an example. There are some write-ups you see and you just see some words that are just complex, you just scroll past that. I can't do this is stressful. But when you see words that are written in simple English, you can follow, you are happy to just read and carry on. So another thing is your introduction is very key. You need to capture your reader's interest as soon as possible. Don't waste their time. Treat your reader's time with respect. Treat your reader's time with respect. I can't say this well enough. Like, you need to respect their time as they're reading your article. Keep their interest. Like, give them, if possible, give them the most important part of your article as early as possible so that they actually stay back and see it through. The next point goes to what I just said. Basically, not overusing the patience of your reader. This says the average manager can read at most an A4 before his attention wanders. So this goes back to attention span. So you need to write as if you're talking to someone in high school. Basically, back to our point, write in simple, clear English. Keep your phrases short, keep your words short. When you're using abbreviations, ensure that you define them somewhere enough. These are simple tips that can
I tell you, I can't hear you.
likable. Were you saying something?
Yeah, okay. Go on, please. I think it was the network. I couldn't hear you from this end.
Oh, I see. But can others hear me though?
Yeah, I can hear you
Yes,
now,
we
but
can hear you.
there was a break.
Oh, approaches randomly. You can't just wake up and say, oh, okay, that's true. I have to write. Yeah, let me write. You need to be intentional about it. Arm yourself with any framework that you have. Some people use the basic introduction, body, conclusion as a framework. I talked about the Mscj approach. I like to use it because it saves me time and it's just simple. Like it helps me go straight to the point, back and forth, and as opposed to being lost in my thoughts. Oh, what should I write? You spend 2 days thinking about what should I write, what not should I write. So, and another important thing I would like to say here is, in addition to working with a framework, understand the audience that you're writing for. And this is so key. I might write the same article, same title, same everything. But once I understand, oh, I'm writing for a group of directors, I'm writing for a group of secondary school students, the content will change. You can't just write randomly as if you're writing for what's it called? The whole world, especially when it's not a blog post. If you're writing maybe a specific article on a subject matter, in your head, you need to define your audience because it will help you with what kind of framework that you need. The idea should always be put in the right context and give your audience the big picture so they don't misconstrue what you are saying. So they don't think, no, this is not making sense. But once you contextualize what you are saying, then your audience can understand that, oh, this is actually where she's coming from, this is where he's coming from, and all of that. Our next point says, if you can use a visual aid, it can help make things more, it can help spice things up, because these days people like to see graphics more often than not. People are getting lazier when it comes to reading, especially in this era of social media where people just want easy content, funny content. They go to Instagram and watch something funny, and you come and write one 7-page article without any visual aid. They will just scroll past. Like, so you need to be more intentional about making these things more reader friendly. They should be able to see your article and then enjoy that. Oh, appreciate that I'm going to enjoy this article. I already talked about having an outline, and then of course using the right formatting so that you have enough white space in your documents. It's not just a line of text, and all of that. So the next thing I'm talking about stems from emotion. Your reader should see your article as, I can hear you.
Yeah, please, guys, the meeting is going to end in about 3 minutes. But once it does, just use the same link, just click on it, and it will bring you back to the meeting room. And more importantly, when we get back, there'll be room for question and answers for those of you who might have questions for the instructor. Okay, thank you. So please proceed.
Okay, so talking about conveying your emotions when you're writing, people should understand that people should feel like they're having a conversation with a person, as opposed to you just slamming the wall of text on them and, oh, this is right, talk. So you need to understand that the people you're writing for, they have other interests apart from what you're writing about, especially when you're writing about technical subjects. If you can make something so technical seem so simple, trust me, you have a loyal audience. You have people that appreciate that, oh, this is someone that can break down complex ideas and make them very simple for me to digest. So we have referring to references that you have access to. This gives you more credibility. And if you're quoting someone that is renowned in the technical space, it just basically makes your audience feel like, oh, this person actually knows what you're talking about, which is also linked back to avoiding plagiarism. That is when you research and you refer to thoughts that others have put down, always cite and acknowledge your sources. Otherwise, you'd be committing an academic offense. So you want to be very intentional about that. So we have like a guide to planning your writing, especially for the kind of audience that you have in mind. I talked about this earlier, but just to reiterate, who are your readers? What academic background? What's their professional background? Characteristics? What are their goals? What do they need? Where will they be reading my article? When will they be reading it? And why will they be reading it? So basically, understanding your audience so that you are able to give them not just what they want, but what they need. I refer to user experience just few seconds ago. I talked about having content that is actually pleasing to the eyes. Your white space should be clear. Like people should not just see a clog of sentences everywhere. They should be able to navigate through your write-ups. They should be able to see it clearly. It should be legible. It should be relatable. Use analogies that people can understand and that people can connect with.